Good. So last night we had a Dharma time and we were talking about the Bhagavad Gita and the five brothers, and we had a discussion where I pointed out that the five brothers in this massive story from yoga, the five warrior brothers. Erin, is it still the case that Ernie, you can't hear me right now? You can hear me okay, Nancy? Okay, alrighty. So anyway, last night in the Dharma talk, I was pointing out this experience that we can make a shift of perspective about it. So if you read the Gita and you just read it by yourself, sometimes it's hard to really understand what's going on. And you read that there is one warrior, his name is Arjuna, and he has to overcome 100 cousins across the battlefield. So that would be a 1 to 100 relationship. He has to be 100 times stronger than his 100 cousins. On the other hand, there are actually five brothers, five warriors, and Arjuna is the one who has this particular task in the Gita. So I like to suggest that these five strengths, the five brothers, the strengths that each of them brings, helps to overcome 20 of the cousins. So like a 1 to 20 relationship. Instead of saying that our 20 mind habits each have to be overcome like individually, we work on one to develop the strength to overcome the next one and the next one and the next one. So if it's a 1 to 20 relationship, then the strength of something in you that's clear, like a yoga warrior, can be 20 times more powerful than what we call your mischief makers, the parts of your human mental narrative that cause mischief. And last night we just chose one of those mischief makers called impatience. Impatience. And everybody confessed that they have struggled at some point with impatience. So I'm going to bring that into our class this morning, this sort of focus on, okay, knowing that about ourselves, what shall we do? What will we do with it? So please take a comfortable seat and we'll see how this unfolds for you. And of course, you can ask questions as we go. So we'll sit quietly, we'll have a little chant to begin class, and then we'll sail away. So you can rest your hands in your lap and let your eyes close. So one of the blessings of the narrative of the Bhagavad Gita, the story, is that we hear there is a human condition, there are dilemmas that we face, and there are sort of internal strengths and tools that we can bring to those. And each of us is both the warrior and the cousins. We each have an inner teacher. So when you come into your body and your breath, your mind and your heart this morning, try to connect more with your inner warrior rather than the mental habits of the inner cousins. Those cousins represent things like impatience and greed and sloth and gossiping and so on. So connect more to your inner warrior. If you're inclined, you can call it your inner warrior goddess if you prefer that. And if that's not your preference, you can stick with warrior. And then to give strength and clarity to that inner warrior or warrior goddess, start breathing up and down the length of the spine, the central channel. And make the breath smooth, consistent, nourishing. In yoga, we say that the breath is like a mediator between, a moderator between the physical body and the mental body. The breath body helps us to communicate. We also say when you cultivate some leadership with the breath, when you are practicing from a place of stewarding your experience, not succumbing to whatever the inner experience is. That leadership lets you nourish your mental body, recalibrate the breath body, and resolve the residue in the physical body. And when these layers are more clear, we touch and come back home to our inner wisdom, and we can stay there more consistently. So let's do 5 or 6 more breath cycles where you can sense the possibility of such occurring for you. And your breath will help you to moderate between the physical body, the mental body. And that you can have the clarity of heart that comes with being a yogi warrior goddess, if you prefer that. So one more breath cycle, please. And then you can join your hands together at your heart. So we'll chant the invocation that includes the word virya, because we hear this in Virabhadrasana 1, Virabhadrasana 2, Virabhadrasana 3. So we'll say Saha Vidyam Karavavahai. May we be strong and clear when necessary. Beginning with the sound of Om. Om. Sahana Vavatu. Sahanau Bhunaktu. Savidyam Karavavai. Tejasvinavaditamastu. Ma vidvishavai. Om Sahana Vavatu. Sahanau Bhunaktu. Savidyam Karavavai. Tejasvinavaditamastu. Ma vidvishavai. Om Sahana Vavatu. Sahanau Bhunaktu. Savidyam Karavavai. Tejasvinavaditamastu. Ma vidvishavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. And with your exhale, you may bow your head to your heart. And release your hands. Open your eyes. So this morning, we're going to work with the mental samskara, the habit of impatience. And I'm going to recommend not that we sort of apply the opposite or bring in something better or more beneficial right now, but that we kind of eradicate a bit the instinct for impatience by seeing when it arises and not entangling ourselves with it. So we see it comes up, we can let it fade. And we'll pause intermittently in the practice to just sort of reflect on, like, how are we doing? How's it going? And those pauses are helpful because you can actually see yourself being less connected to, less entangled by, less seduced by the habit of impatience. So please come up to standing and we'll switch to my other camera. Susie, did I get it turned on? I did. Look at me go. All right. I have to get my Swiss ball out of the way. It's like my little pet. Okay. So when you come up to standing here, place your feet just as wide as the yoga mat. Bend your knees and come down into a little ragdoll position. You can cross the opposite elbow to the opposite hand if you like. And at first I'm just going to let you have the torso sort of cascade like water. You can explore it a little bit. Keep the legs stable, please. So that's helpful to have your toes and your heels grounded. And with the knees bent, keep your knees as wide as the toes themselves. And let the torso cascade down like water. Let's do this. We'll take a deep breath in through the nose and let the inner body fill up with the breath. And on the exhale, we'll use the sigh sound to release the exhale. Let's do that twice more. Inhale. And once more. Now please shift your hands to your hips, press into your heels and rise up to standing. Interlace your fingers. Inhale, raise your arms up overhead. And exhale, sweep the arms wide like you're clearing the mind, and then the heart, and then the body. Interlace your fingers. Inhale to go up. And exhale to clear the space, like your personal bubble. You can use any word you want to for that. Once more, interlace your fingers. Go up. And exhale, sweep the arms wide. Now I'm going to ask you to watch for a moment because I'm going to come down and bend my knees. In fact, let me do it as a profile. When you come down into this position and the knees are bent, you're going to hold the opposite elbow again. And I'd like us to inhale and lift the upper body and the elbows like this so that you can get a full breath, a little bit like doing cow pose. And on the exhale, we're going to release the torso down. So let's do this together. You can come down to your deep knee bend, sit into your hips, put some body weight into your heels, right? So that you have a sense of the support that your heels can offer right there. And then let's inhale, raise your elbows, sweep your torso forward. And exhale to sigh. Inhale, reach forward with the elbows. Again, please inhale, raise the elbows forward. And exhale to sigh. And now place your fingers on the floor in front of your toes and slowly straighten both legs. Walk your hands forward and your feet backwards into downward facing dog pose. And when you come into your downward dog pose, the hope is that your upper back feels ready from what we were just doing and the spine can feel long and spacious. Now I'm going to ask you to practice deliberately that your inhale The length of your in-breath and the length of your exhale can be equal. This means that you have to bring in some concentration, some gentle math. You are counting. Maybe you say to yourself, breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever the length is. And then you say to yourself, breathing out, 2, 3, and so on. And I would like you to do this for 4 breath cycles more. And think of it like you are strengthening the inner yogi warrior, goddess self in you. We cannot be successful warriors if we don't have the benefit of concentration. And the breath is the moderator between the mind and the body. Sometimes the body is uncomfortable, the mind reacts, and the breath gets forgotten inside the conversation. Sometimes the mind is distracted, the body and breath are both forgotten. So keep the breath as your communication between the Annamaya Kosha and the Manomaya Kosha. When you next inhale, come forward to plank pose. And then touch your knees down. And please shift backwards to child's pose. When you come to child's pose, you can relax the counting of the breath. Let it be whatever it is. Let your body relax into child's pose according to your own capacity. We say, Ma Vidvishavai. May we not succumb to impatience or intolerance or animosity. And so now please walk your hands back towards your knees. And we're going to use a couple of variations on cat-cow. So I would like you to have 2 blocks, please. And to set up the block under your right hand to be on the flat setting, like that. And the block under your left hand to be on the medium setting, so it's taller. Yes, it will be asymmetrical. Excuse me. So when you inhale now, please come into cat pose and notice what it's like with the body being asymmetrical. And then as you exhale, bring your heart forward. Raise your gaze. Yes, this is asymmetrical, and this is the exhale. So inhale to cat. Press firmly down with both arms and parachute your back body towards the ceiling. Exhale, roll through to cow pose. Raise your heart forward, and then your collarbones and your gaze. Inhale to cat. Exhale to cow. Once more, inhale to cat. And then exhale to table pose. With the block under your left hand, step forward. With your right knee, also step forward. So this is a little cross crawl pattern that you just initiated. Let's inhale to cat pose, please. Yes, it is asymmetrical. Exhale halfway back to child's pose without swinging your hips to the side. Inhale, roll to cat pose. Exhale, roll through to cow pose, also without the hips going sideways. Inhale to cat. Take the tailbone down, go 1 vertebrae at a time into the parachute of the back body. Exhale, halfway back to child's pose. Keep both arms strong and straight. Inhale, roll forward, cat. Exhale, cow pose. This asymmetry and this cross crawl means that let's inhale to cat, you are exercising very tiny muscles alongside the spine, not just the large muscles up and down the spine. Go halfway back to child's pose. Last time, inhale forward, cat. Exhale forward, cow. Inhale, cat. And exhale halfway back to child's pose. And then step to table pose. Put the block under your left hand flat, the block under your right hand medium. Let's do the other side. So inhale to cat pose. And exhale to cow pose. And notice the differences in the body when we've changed the hands. Inhale to cat. You likely have some asymmetries. Most of us do. So if you notice any hint of impatience with the body and the asymmetries, now is the time to practice not giving into the impatience, the seeds of impatience. Let's go to cow pose. Okay, and then step your right hand and block forward, step your left knee forward, and inhale to cat pose. We're going to add going halfway back to child's pose. Please keep the arms straight and don't let the hips waver. And then inhale, roll forward to cat pose. And exhale, roll through to cow pose. Bring your heart forward, lift your collarbones and your gaze. Inhale to cat. Exhale, halfway back, child's pose. Inhale to cat. Exhale, cow. Last time through, inhale to cat. Exhale, halfway back to child's pose. Inhale forward to table pose. Place both blocks now on the medium setting. Curl your toes under and reach up and back to downward facing dog pose. So this is a higher version of your dog pose. It means that you might be able to have the hips go a little farther back or more confidently go back. And I would encourage you to have a sense that you're moving your hips back away from your hands at the same time that the heart is able to press down through both arms into both hands. And see if you can once more balance your inhale with your exhale. That means that you're counting, you're practicing honesty with yourself, loyalty to your practice. And sometimes when the request is made that you balance the inhale and the exhale, you actually get little flickers of mental impatience for the extra concentration being asked. If the mind has been flustered, overwhelmed, tired, and so on, if you feel like you're already working mentally hard every day, and then I'm inviting you to concentrate, just notice how you can resist impatience and see this concentration as you're developing an inner skill, an inner strength and fortitude. And then when you next exhale, slowly bring your knees down to the floor. Take one block to place under your forehead like this for your child's pose. And in this child's pose, because the block is under the head, the base of the skull might feel just a little bit more spacious. So starting right there at the base of the skull, imagine just like unzipping the tension pattern of the back body and letting it melt away. The tension can fade. May we not succumb to impatience or intolerance. And please walk your hands back towards your knees. And rise up to kneeling, and then come up to standing. This morning, I'm going to ask you to do something a little bit unusual, where the sun salutation, we're going to place the feet to be wider, like as wide as the yoga mat here, so that the outer edges of the feet are parallel like this. And I would like you to have 2 blocks in front of you. We're going to be using that for a couple of things. Please bring your hands together at your heart. Now come into the Ujjayi breath and make it smooth so that at the top of the inhale, the pause is a gentle transition to the exhale. The bottom of the exhale, there's a gentle transition to the inhalation. And do that for 3 breath cycles with complete focus, without distraction. So each breath cycle reflects your commitment. It's called your abhyasa, your dedication. And with a sense of that dedication, now we begin. So inhale, sweep the hands down, wide and up. Yes, this is a wide stance. Exhale, come down to chair pose. Inhale, rise up, upward hands pose. Smooth Ujjayi inhale. Keeping the legs steady, exhale, bow forward to Uttanasana. Feel free to use the 2 blocks to support the deeper bow. Inhale, glide forward, come up to your fingertips, lengthen your spine. Keeping your right foot planted, exhale, step your left toes back so they are wide on your yoga mat. So your right foot is to the right side of your mat, and your left foot is to the left side of your mat. And keeping that established, you can place both hands to the inside of your right ankle. Inhale, straighten your right leg. And then exhale, bend your right knee slowly and try to arrive at the end range of the physical movement at the end of the exhalation. So inhale, glide your hips back using the entire length of your inhale. And if you have a slow and steady breath, your movements are also slow and steady. Exhale, bend your right knee. Do that once more. You are in warrior training right now. So keep your concentration, your focus. Exhale, bend your right knee. Now keeping the tailbone anchored and your hips centered, rise up to your crescent lunge with your feet wide. Yes, they are wide like this. And do your very best to hold steady now. So place your gaze, called your dristi, on just one thing, not moving about. Listen to the smoothness of the breath. You are moderating between the body and the mind. Notice any differences in having your feet wide like this in terms of the physical pose. And when you next exhale, sweep your arms wide and come over to airplane pose. Do your very best to keep the hips centered. So your right outer hip is essential here. And then you touch the hands down to the 2 blocks. And let's inhale and float the left foot forward to the outside of the blocks. And exhale for a deep bow towards the legs. No need to hit your head on the blocks. Inhale, glide forward, come up to your fingertips. Step your right toes back so that your right foot is as wide as your yoga mat. And then we're going to inhale for the length of your breath, straighten your left leg slowly. So you're in no hurry to get there. And when you exhale, deeply bend your left knee. Again, in no particular hurry. Give yourself the time, the absence of urgency, Release the mental pressure and just allow your breath and your awareness to be inside your body. And do that one more time. Let's inhale, glide the hips back. You have the time to really sense the intimacy of all those movements in the body. And exhale, bend your left knee so it's balanced over your left heel. And keeping your hips centered means you need to use the left outer hip wisely. Please rise up. Yes, the feet are wider. Root down through your tailbone. Make any adjustments you need to, of course, within your body's intelligence. Also see what you do when there's an unusual orientation in your pose, something that's less familiar to you. How does your mind respond? What happens with your breathing? And staying with your warrior training, when you exhale, take the arms wide, keep the back leg strong and your left outer hip steady. And then touch both blocks with your hands and put the blocks so that they're going to be shoulder width apart, and step backwards to your dog pose so that your feet are as wide as your yoga mat. Okay, so with your feet wide like this, you can have the outer edges of the feet near the outer edges of the mat. Let's inhale forward to plank pose, hands just shoulder width apart on the blocks. And exhale, reach back, downward facing dog pose. Again, inhale forward to plank pose. You are in warrior training. Squeeze the feet isometrically towards each other. And inhale, reach back, downward facing dog pose. And one more time, exhale, come forward to plank pose. With your hands on your blocks, your feet as wide as the mat. Now keeping both hands steady, squeeze your left knee up to your right elbow. Inhale, step it back, plank pose. Exhale, right knee to your left elbow. Inhale, step it back, plank pose, feet wide. Exhale, left knee to your right elbow. Inhale, glide back. Exhale, right knee to your left elbow. Inhale, glide back. And exhale to downward facing dog pose. And then bring your knees down to a comfortable position for child's pose. Put one block for your head. The other block can be set aside. Rest your forehead on the block again and let the base of the skull have a nice openness there. And then reflect on the inner quality of impatience or the diminishment of impatience. Ma virishavai, ma virishavai. Om Shanti Om. Okay, and then walk your hands back towards your knees. And you can watch here for a moment. We're going to take the next step in that wide lunge from the base. So if these two blocks are forward like this, and let's say I put my left foot forward to the outside of the mat, and my right foot is back on the wide side of the mat, I'm now going to turn the back heel down because it'll be more stable. And yes, my foot is wide back there. Here's how you can see. There's my foot back there. Okay, so with the foot at the edge of the mat on the right side, edge of the mat on the left side, you can make your blocks taller if you want to. And we're going to come down to the elbows like this. Some people will prefer to have their blocks be shorter. Some people will need to make the blocks like a little desk. like this, and come down. And let's do your right foot forward first, so that at the moment, it looks like my left foot is your right foot. So I'm mirroring you right now. Yeah. And you can see back there, the back foot. Yeah, perfect. Okay, good, good. So you can either have the arms straight, hands on the blocks if that's what your hips are comfortable with, or you can choose the height of the blocks to bring your elbows down. Relax the weight of your head. And as you press back into your left big toe and left inner heel, lift the inner arch of your left foot, your back foot. Make the left leg long and aim your tailbone back towards your left heel. Lengthen your right thigh bone forward so your right knee shines in line with the third toe of your right foot. You are in warrior training, so let's make the breath smooth, consistent, expressing your commitment. And breathing in once more. Now, if you have not had your hands on the blocks, if you were on your elbows, please come up to two hands. You can straighten the arms. Keep your right knee where it is. Place your right hand in the center of your two blocks or directly under your right shoulder so your torso can be centered on the mat between the 2 feet. Rotate your upper body to your left, please. And raise your left arm to the sky. So notice the distinctly different sort of attitude or personality of this pose relative to the one we were just doing. This one is more expansive, more upwards and outwards. The other one was more downwards and inwards. And as you next exhale, please bring your left hand back down. Touch the two blocks. Hopefully they're stable. You're going to step 1 foot back and then change sides. Bring your left foot forward to the outside edge of your yoga mat. Take your right foot to the back side of your yoga mat on the right side. And decide the height that your left hip needs these blocks to be. Then you can bow your head and put your mind back on the right big toe, your right inner heel, and the joy of the inner arch. It's been raining in Portland here and there intermittently. You could imagine that the inner right arch is like a tiny shelter for small creatures to take refuge from the rain. They're so glad for you to provide them with some shelter. Reach back through your inner right thigh to your inner heel and aim your left knee straight on with the third toe of your left foot. That does mean you have to keep the left outer hip strong. Last week we talked about the deep 6 muscles. We want to keep them toned right now. Any moment that the seeds of impatience arise, we get to stay clear with the warrior who is interested in lessening the habit of impatience. It's a very human habit, a very common mental habit. So no judgment about yourself if it arises, only the inner work not to succumb to it. Let's place both hands on the 2 blocks. If you've got them stacked, you can place them together on the top of 1 block, or you can center 1 block under your left hand. So now the torso is centered on the mat, though your left foot is still wide, right foot is still wide. Please turn to your right and raise your right arm up The pose has a very different attitude, a different kind of personality. Make all three limbs that are a part of your stability, make them very strong and stable. Acknowledge the efforts that you're putting in right now. And then as you exhale, please bring your right hand back down. You can use both blocks to stabilize and step your right foot forward so you are as wide as your yoga mat. Once again, this time when you bow towards the floor, you might stack the two blocks to support your head. So this pose is downward and inward, right? It's like a refuge pose. May we take refuge from the mental habit that leads to impatience and all of its tiny contributors. So expectations and judgments, postponing your own resilience or your own needs, all the contributors that you can consider. Please shift your hands to your hips and rise up to standing. And step your feet into like a regular mountain pose. They can be hip distance apart. It's called Tadasana. Tada drastu svarupe vastanam. Tadasana. And then we stand in the essence of who we are. Notice what it's like to come into standing still, into the stillness of standing. Invite the mind not to move, not to leave home. And then you can open your eyes as you're ready to. And I'm going to change your view of me to be the profile view. And I would like you to have your two blocks again as you were just using them. Let me put mine here. I had my two stacked like this. And I'm going to call this my right leg and this my left leg. Do not tell them the real news. So with the right foot, I would like you to go again on the wide side of your mat. And let's see if we can do this so that your left foot, you can see my left foot is at the wide edge of my mat. My right foot is behind my blocks, but there it is at the back side of the mat, in the profile view anyway. Okay, so you've got this wide stance. If you look down, you have a diagonal line between your two heels. There's no yoga architecture police who are going to see what you're doing and think, what is the matter with those people? This is a way to explore the hips and pelvis that I want us to be inquisitive about, but also notice what happens when we change the foundation, what happens in your mind. Please place your hands on your hips and bend your right knee like you're doing Warrior Two. Look down and check that your right knee can point in line with the third toe of your right foot. Now tone the right outer hip right around the sitting bone. And tone the left inner thigh. And then zip up the pubic bone so that the sense of the inner belly rising is established right here. Sweep your arms wide. Go ahead and use a diagonal for the arms because The legs are on this diagonal. And then gaze to your right. Notice what changes for you if you close your eyes and you check this orientation is different. You might observe some of the benefits and some of the curiosities in any place where your mind gets kind of disgruntled by the unfamiliar or the unknown. This pose has a quality of rajas to it. It requires motivation, energy, and stamina. Also has a quality of tamas. It's offering stillness and grounding, stabilizing. So let's turn the right hand to the sky now. Walk your left hand down, either your left leg or to your left hip, and rise up with your right arm. You lift your gaze, and as we go upward, it's kind of like adding the sattvic element to the pose. This kind of aspiration, optimism, desire for clarity. And then when you exhale, level the arms off, please. Firm your right outer hip and straighten your legs. Now, with the hips being at this little angle that we've created, come down thoughtfully with your right hand to your blocks. Place your left hand on your left hip for a moment. And right here at the left outer hip, so if you can feel, here is the strong bone called the trochanter. And if you put your thumb behind, you might be able to touch part of the sacrum. Okay, squeeze the muscles right there between your fingertips at the trochanter and your thumb at the sacrum. If you don't squeeze them, what happens is the hips can roll forward. I do want you to tone right there so that you're able to thoughtfully root your tailbone down towards your left heel. Then raise this up to triangle pose. Okay, so this is a high version of triangle pose. We're going to make it a moving version of triangle pose. So when you inhale and you're up, you can look up. When you exhale, keep your right arm strong and reach down and look down. When you inhale to open, if you keep the feet, legs, hips, and pelvis as they were, what you're rotating is your chest and your heart. And you exhale to descend, what you're turning is your mid-back, upper back, head, shoulders, and heart. Inhale to open. Keep your right arm strong. And exhale to roll down. Keep the legs steady so the left outer hip doesn't give up on the strength I was asking for. Inhale to open. Tone your left outer hip all the way to your heel. And exhale to come down. Last one, inhale to open. And then let yourself explore, improvise. What does your body long for right now? When you free up the conversation, when you really listen, listen for the possibility of what your body could inform you about, a request from your body for a certain path of movement. Something your body has been longing for. New ideas, new options, some creativity. And when you feel sort of saturated or satiated there, what you can do is rise back up to standing and then step your heel toe to center, or take one big step and close that one up. Let's go to the other side. I will move my blocks. You don't have to, but I'm able to still see you if I look this way. and you can still see me. Okay, so left foot to the outside edge of the mat, and right foot to the right edge of the mat. Good. Yep. You can place your hands on your hips if you like. And then bend your left knee. If you look down at your left leg, I would like your left thigh and your knee to point in line with the third toe. And look back at the right leg. This is a diagonal from heel to heel, and the right leg can be straight and strong. And sweep the arms wide. You can use the diagonal. Gaze out over your left fingertips, or you can also close your eyes. So sometimes we say in Warrior Two, we are standing in the present moment, neither pursuing the future nor holding on to the past. We are abiding in the present moment. Drastu Svarupe Vastanam. So let yourself abide. And abiding is a word that I quite like. You can use whatever word you feel like you're simmering in or resting in, becoming firmly established in. Now, keeping your legs stable, you can place your right hand on your hip or walk it down your leg and raise your left arm up to add the sort of sattvic, like uplifting, optimistic, that particular element. There you go. And then as you exhale, level that off. You straighten your left leg. Remember that the orientation is a little bit unusual, and I want you to tone your right outer hip from the trochanter over to the sacrum as you come down. Yep, and place your left hand firmly on a block or 2 or 12 if you need to. Good, and raise your right arm up to the sky. Yes, beautiful. So just check a few things, like the left big toe and the left outer heel are steady. So the inner left arch has become the rain shelter for the tiny creatures. And then tone your left outer hip to help root the tailbone, and tone the right outer hip here to keep yourself from swinging the pelvis forward or back. And then we're going to exhale, roll down, keep the left arm strong. This goes back to that asymmetrical cat pose. Then inhale to open. And exhale to roll down. Take your time. Left arm strong, inhale to open. Exhale to roll down. Keep the legs steady. So the moving part here is really your heart and your upper thoracic spine, mid thoracic spine. And once more, roll it down. And once more to open. And then let your body kind of improvise. Listen in for where your body would like to explore. Does not have to be like the first side. Might be, doesn't have to be. There may be something that this side of your body holds for you that the other side doesn't. So listen in like to the wisdom of the myofascial body, letting you know, oh, here we are. Move with absolute freedom from impatience.
You know, as if you were letting a toddler figure out how to do finger painting. And you know that does not need to be a masterpiece. Only needs to be a joyful experience of creativity. And use an exhale next, or second or third exhale, to release from your pose and to rise up to standing. And you can decide to go heel toe with the back foot all the way to the other foot, or you could decide to step one foot to the other and come to mountain pose, please. Come into standing still. It's called samastitihi and also called tadasana. Sama means balance. Stitihi means stability. Listen for the possibility that impatience diminishes. And then please take a seat on a blanket. So the way that you fold your blanket is, of course, up to you. I'm going to fold mine. I just did that in thirds. And I like to sit up on my blanket, and then I slide myself forward and down so that I'm going to support my sacrum where it meets my tailbone. I don't have a close-up view camera for you guys, so what I do is I start sitting up here and then I roll myself down. So there's a feeling like if you saw we have a pelvis at the studio, we have a pelvic model all the way over there in Southwest Portland. And if you see the sacrum, at the base of the sacrum, there's a tinier spot called the tailbone, those last few bony pieces of the spine. So I'm basically sitting so that my sacrum is supported and my tailbone is just in front of the blanket. You can decide, of course, for yourself. And rest your hands out over your knees. Now place the tip of the tongue behind the top two teeth. Open the back hollow of your throat and think of that as a place also down low in the base of the throat. Bring in the Ujjayi breath, silky and smooth. And when you're ready to begin balancing your inhale with your exhale, you are going to count that can say to yourself, breathing in, 2, 3, and so on. You can say, inhale, 2, 3, or exhale. The Ujjayi inhale, we want that to encompass all 3 regions of the torso, lowest, middle, and upper. Also, it expands circumferentially. The inhale pause ought to feel silent and still. The exhale, we want to be toning the deep low belly, balancing the length of the exhale with the length of your inhale. At the end of your next exhale, deeply relax your breath and your belly and your body. Keep the inner attention, but soften the outer body. Now you may take your blocks and place them in front of you. You will not know how high to make them until you check in with yourself about it. I'm going to make a guess for myself today. Some of you may put your heads on the floor. That's not my capacity since my hip replacement. And I can't remember if it was before. Some of you knew me before. You can tell me if you remember, but I don't remember. Not right now. When we come forward, the hands are going to be behind the back like this. And we're going to bow forward, and the head needs a place to be supported. Okay, this is a pranayama practice. I'm going to ask you to check that how you are setting up for this is going to be comfortable enough. Now, for some of us, it makes more sense to have there be a chair right here, or you could bow forward to the edge of the sofa, something that's going to feel like it can support your forehead. Or you could take these blocks and make them taller, like this. The idea is that when we go down and we are squeezing the exhale out, a little bit like squeezing a sponge, then when we're down there, we're not going to be inhaling. This is called exhale suspension. So we go down, we exhale, 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 exhale. The deep low belly is getting toned and toned and toned. And then without an inhale coming in, we're going to deeply relax the low belly. There will be a suctioning inside. You may feel that in the abdomen. You may feel that in the throat. We will not be trying to increase that or make it more vigorous right now. We will release that before we inhale to come up to sitting. So one time it looks like this. Here's my inhale. And here's my exhale. I exhale completely. Now I'm going to hold the exhale out. Then I inhale to come back up to the starting position. Now, as you increase in your capacity for this, your smoothness, your integration, not like the duration is not the only sign of capacity, but as you increase, you may find that you inhale for, let's say, 10, you exhale for 10, you suspend for 10, and you continue. Inhale, exhale, suspend. Most people, when they're learning it, the exhale suspension is much shorter, and they come up to inhale, and then they have to kind of recalibrate and then repeat. So let's try it. Again, when you're down there and you've exhaled completely, you are not inhaling, but you will relax the muscles that made the exhale so strong. Let's begin with the inhale. And then exhale to come forward. You inhale to come up when you are ready to, and you don't proceed to the next one until you are ready to. So don't make yourself breathless. There is no competition, and one should not feel impatient with oneself in the process. The next time that you come up with an inhalation, rest your hands out over your knees and let yourself really deeply relax again. Listen for any quality of stillness that might come to you, even the hint or the whisper of it. Invite yourself to abide in that which can be most deeply still, to rest in, to abide in the essence, not the narrative of who you are. into Shavasana, and I'd like us to use Setubandhasana and then Matsyasana to arrive in Shavasana. You don't need to know your Sanskrit. I'll say this in English also. So 2 blocks you can set aside unless you're going to use them in Shavasana. So please lie on your back with your knees bent. Notice the inner energy pattern of the body right now. We're going to go up to bridge pose. That's what Setubandhasana means, the bridge pose. When we go up, let's press into the heels, all 10 toes. Raise up from your tailbone first. When you get about halfway up to your capacity, please don't turn your head. I was just checking you for a moment. When you go about halfway up, then tuck each shoulder under. You might clasp your hands. Some people like to do what I'm doing right now, which is one of my variations. I'm actually standing on my fingerprints with my heels. So I put my fingers under my heels. You lift the chest and the heart. It's called Setubandhasana. Think more about lifting your heart as the bridge rather than your butt or your hips. Of course they're coming up, but don't overwork the lower back and the glutes in the absence of the heart or the chest. So press your shoulders down very firmly to raise your heart up. And then start lowering your hips down while keeping a little back bend in the heart. And when you get to nearly to the bottom of the hips, you're going to put the hands palms face down now under the back of the pelvis. So palms face down, so you sit on the back of your wrists or the back of your hands. The chest is still lifted like it was in bridge pose, right? Just the chest and the heart. Stretch the legs out straight. Press down into your elbows and lift your heart. Take your head back. Matsyasana, fish pose. Imagine the gills on the side of the fish. In this case, that is the sides of the upper chest. So the inhale makes its way all the way up to the heart. And then when you exhale, start sliding your head on the floor. So you come down, release your hands and elbows. Release the shoulder blades somewhat, but not completely. Take the legs out and come into Shavasana. You can imagine now all the tiny workers inside the body, inside your body, that are doing the cleansing that happens at the end of your practice here. Like these teeny tiny workers, the garbage, the recycling, the yard debris, right? The house cleaners, the window cleaners, the street cleaners, those who clean the waterways, those who clean everything. Right? That's happening for you right now. And it's cleansing not just for the body, but also for the mind, for your psyche. There is an essence in you that is undiminished and unbroken, already whole, already radiant, welcoming you back home. Let everything become very quiet, like deeply return home. Not only the physical body, also the mental body. Ta-da, just Sadupe Vastanam. 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 Now, having rested, you may just lightly bring awareness back to your body, your breath, the mediator between the body and the mind. And let's please make a thoughtful transition to return for a couple minutes of sitting simply together. You can choose the meditation seat that is most comfortably yours.
When you come up for meditation, make the seat something you feel really stable and kind of at ease in, right? We say samastitihi, even standing. Now we can say sitting evenly. Give yourself the blessing of these few minutes even of meditation to really notice, okay, what's transpired. Please bring your hands together at your heart. If you like, you can practice singing with me. I'll do it twice, each part. Tada drastu, tada drastu, svarupe vastanam, svarupe vastanam. Tada drastu, tada drastu, svarupe vastanam, svarupe vastanam. Tada drastu, svarupe vastanam, tada drastu, svarupe vastanam. May we stand clearly in our essence. May we abide in that, free from the seeds of impatience and all its contributors. And when we are aware of impatience and its contributions to other mind habits, may we not succumb. Thank you, everyone. Namaste.